Okay guys, welcome to Clunkers and Classics. Let me turn off the radio. Welcome to Clunkers and Classics, where we are restoring this 1978 Chevy Nova. I got my helper Kitty and Puppy. And this is episode 10. And this is gonna be, video is gonna be doing all the body work. Well, not all of it, but as much as we can do. And usually I go whatever I can get done in a week, off and on. So I don't know, however long it takes, if it's 30, 40, 50-minute video, somewhere around there. Now I kind of started it already. Of course, if you're new, I put that new quarter panel on second, third episode, something like that. I got a little bit of Bondo work where it joined. I got some Bondo glass, Dyna glass, but I got to do a skim of Bondo and block that out. Last video I stripped down this door. This is the used door I got from the junkyard. And it sanded down real easy with 80 grit on a DA, because it's just been painted to once blue. Looks like two, but that's just faded. Just been painted. This was factory blue. This car, there's 4 layers of stuff on it. And I can't strip it down like the door with the 80 grit. I tried here, but it was taking way too long. This is the DA paper here, 80 grit, and it just kind of clogging it up, although it is cheap paper. But could probably get 40 grit DA paper and strip it down, but if I'm gonna do that, I'll just use my big grinder and zap that stuff off fairly quickly. Okay, that's how I'm gonna have to do the rest of the car. Strip it down the metal like that door. Okay, you're probably all familiar with an air sander DA, which is this here. This is the common DA. You put the paper on there. Only problem is it uses a lot of air, and if you got a little compressor like me, that compressor is going all the time. So I don't know when they came out with this. Sure wasn't back in the day. But I've known about it for about 5 years, and it's an electric DA. First one I had it for 5 years, and it crapped out. So this is the same thing but electric, so you don't have your compressor running all the time. I recommend buying one of them for your do-it-yourselfer, garage guys like me, because, well, if you're in a shop, you could, you got a big air compressor and you got access to all the air tools. But if you're doing it at home and stuff, that electric one's perfect. Okay, and the grinder I'm going to use is not the grinder with the, use these grinders here with the big discs for, cutting metal and making patch panels and really grinding stuff. This grinder here is basically a polisher, and you can buy these discs here. They're flexible, and they're, oh, I don't know what they are, about 20 grit or something. So I'm gonna put a new disc on there, and we're gonna probably do the deck lid. Since I started it, I'm gonna buzz over the deck lid with that, and then you go over it with the DA with 80 grit to smooth it all out. And then you're gonna have to put a couple of good coats of primer on there and sand it all out and reprime it, because you're gonna have grinding disc marks in it. But it's got to be stripped. Now in the old days, there was stuff called aircraft stripper. And I was just thinking, I found a little can of that. Well, you know what? I think I threw that out because it was empty. I thought there was a little bit in there. I was going to test it out and show you guys that. Yeah, I think I picked up that can and it was empty or something. Well, anyway, back in the day, that aircraft stricker was very, very potent. You put it on with a paintbrush, you put a layer, then another layer, and it would bubble all that old paint up. And you would just scrape it off with like a putty knife or a Bondo spreader, and it would come right off. Now, the problem is nowadays they still make it, but it's about as third potent as it used to be due to EPA and all that crap. So the stuff's no good. You would really use three, and it was, oh shit, back in the day it was 25 bucks a gallon, and you could get quite a couple of good panels done with that. But now if it's a third as potent, it's going to take you 3 times as long and 3 times more expensive to use aircraft stripper. So I don't use it anymore. I'll just grind it down. Okay, so I got some greasy handprints here from the last video doing the transmission modulator valve. When you DA this down like this, you'll see, you can see the paint here of little dings. These are all little dings here. But I actually went in with the DA just to sand those little things, because you still got to take a die grinder or something and grind them out, get it down in the metal. I kind of did that with the DA. If I hadn't have, you would see a lot more dings. So even though you can't see them, you can see them all here. There's all dings here. There's all dings along here. There's a kind of a dent there, dent here. I think there's a little one there. And then here where I had to kind of adjust it with my thing, little dent here and there. And same with the bottom down here. So we're gonna kind of do the Bondo work on this door, and then grind probably this fender and the deck lid first. We're gonna probably just stick with doing this whole side first and get it all done and in primer. And so if you're doing it at home, do 1 or 2 panels at a time. Don't sand the whole, grind the whole car down and leave it. Especially with me, I'm working outside. I could put it in the shop, but I like working outside because you know, all the dust and everything, the wind just blows it away. If you're stuck in a shop, you're going to be breathing that shit in, and there's more light outside. So if you're doing it outside, just do a couple panels at a time. That way the morning dew doesn't come in and start rusting it like it has here. So you can get a couple of panels done and in primer, and move on to the next area instead of sanding the whole car, grinding the whole car down and leaving it for days or weeks or who knows how long. Okay, so went over that. Bondo, I've gone over a lot of this stuff in other videos, but always get new viewers, and if you haven't watched the old videos, cheapest place to buy Bondo is Walmart. It used to be about 15 bucks a gallon, now it's about 17. Everything's going up in price. Cheapest place to buy it, same brand, size and everything at O'Reilly's is 36 bucks. It's more than double the price at O'Reilly's, so don't buy it at O'Reilly's. Go to Walmart. Okay, and Bondo is pretty much all the same. So if you think you're spending money on more expensive Bondo, it's not worth it. Now the only thing with the more expensive Bondo, sometimes it's mixed a little smoother, so it'll sand smoother. So it'll save you a little bit of time, but for me, I'm cheap. I buy the cheapest stuff. Okay, and I don't really use spot putty when you do the Bondo work. Well, we'll go over it when I get the Bondo work done. Usually you would put a coat of spot putty over it to fill in sanding marks and pinholes and stuff like that, I just use another skim of Bondo over it instead of spot putty. Because spot putty, you get the little quart or pint, and it's cost as much as a gallon of Bondo. So you can just keep that in mind. Like I said, this is a budget build. I keep everything cheap. Not cheap, whereas less inferior products or anything like that. Just be conscious on what you spend money on. Same with sandpaper. I buy these rolls of sandpaper and tape off of eBay. I think this is about 30 bucks. You buy it at your paint store, they're going to charge you double. Now, it's just cheap stuff. Doesn't even have a brand on it. You buy the same thing in 3M, it's probably going to be well over 100 bucks. Now, the 3M top of the line stuff will last longer, but you just got to know how to use the cheap stuff. Use one piece and you go over, after you spread the Bondo, it would go over it with that, because the first coat of Bondo would gum up your sandpaper. So you go over it with one piece, and then that way your second piece will last a lot longer and everything. You're just going to be kind of conscious of that. Don't get as much use as you can out of that sandpaper, and when you're done with it off the DA, you fold it up and you keep it in a box. And this is good for little little areas that you got to do by hand, or edges like that. Always save them. I got boxes of that stuff. I got a new box started here. A new box of sandpaper. Instead of grabbing a brand new piece just to sand a little edge or something, grab one of your old pieces. I'm trying to save y'all money here, and myself money, but teaching you how to save money. Okay, so I kind of went over last video, but we got a big dent here that we're going to pull out. That's all Bondo and crap there, or something, primer, and then this is either old Bondo or paint, mixture of both, paint and Bondo cracks. So what I'm going to do first is take off this lens, take out the, I know, oh, there it goes, mid-80s, the Jap Novus, whatever it was, made by Toyota or something. Somebody had put that on there. I got a surprise what we're going to be putting on this for emblems when it's done. Well, there's a hole there, so that's going to have to be filled in. That's probably why they put that there. Okay, so I'm going to take off that lens there. Probably this handle and lock. There's no Bondo work needs to be done around here right now, so I'm in no rush for that. But I'm going to start the Bondo work on this door and start the grinding on this fender. So I'll be back and I'll show you how I do that. Okay guys, see if I can do this one-handed and show you. I started right here, and we're going to grind all this paint off. So, got a brand new disc on it. Forget what I don't know if it's 24 grit, that's what it is. Okay. Okay, you see how that came right off like that? With the DA sander with 80 grit? That had taken me 10 minutes to do that. Okay, but the problem is you're gonna have to go over it with the DA sander with 80, and I'm gonna show you that here in a little bit. Let me just grind the rest of this off camera, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, took about one cigarette, about 10 minutes to get all that 4 coats of crap off there. So she's all down to the metal. There's a few little dings in it, not too bad. I think one's right here. I think one's up in here. But anyway, remember the first couple episodes there, I fixed some rust here when I painted all this silver all inside. So you don't want to regrind all that. We're just going to DA that smooth. Okay, so your next step is you put some 80 grit on your DA sander, and you go over this to get rid of all these grind marks as best you can. Oh, and when you're grinding and you're DAing, don't stay in one spot for very long, more than a couple seconds, because you'll heat up this metal and warp it, especially on the deck lids and the hoods. Okay, even this sun is out here is pretty hot anyway. This metal is pretty hot, and it's thick metal. But newer cars, yeah, you warp it real easy. Okay, so I'll show you a little bit with the DA. Okay, so as you can see, you want it all smooth like this here. Okay, and if you there's a little uppity dent right there. And the smoother you get it, the more you can feel if there's dents. Dents are up dents there from something in the trunk sticking through it, and you have to hammer that down. So after it's all smooth and everything, you go over that and you put a little body filler on all the little dents. But we'll go over that when the time comes. So right now, we get it all smooth with 80, but you're not going to get all them grind marks all the way out. That's why you'll have to prime it a few times. We'll spray some black paint guide coat over it and block it out. And the guide coat will tell you if there's some of these still in there. If you can't sand them out, then you got to use some putty over it and block it out. But I don't think we'll be using any putty for any of these grind marks. You can sand it down real good with 80 grit, and a couple of coats of primer will fill that in. Just got to block it real good. Okay, so I'll be back in a little bit when I get all this DA down. It'll take longer than 10 minutes, but take a little bit longer. But I'll be back. Okay, guys, that took about 20 minutes. She's smooth as a baby's butt. Now, as you can see, there's where your dents are. Little, probably hail dents. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think that other one, man, this is really hot. I might have to wait till it cools down a little bit. The other little thing, I'll pop it down with a hammer, and then we're going to man, that's hot. I have to wait till this afternoon, guys. The next step is going to be, I'll show you how to mix up some Bondo and spread the Bondo on there and what to do with it. I'm going to wait till a couple more hours, I don't know, to do that, to come back to this, because it's really, really hot. Barely put my hand on it. It's not 100 degrees out or anything, but it's about 80 something. It's really nice to work, but it's really heating this metal up. Okay, so that's yeah, you just do that to every panel, but we're going to try to do 1 or 2 panels at a time, so we don't leave the whole car exposed out here for a week. Okay, I want to welcome a couple of new subscribers who just commented. One guy, well, I don't know if it's a 78, but a Disco, he calls it his Disco Nova. He said they don't get too much love, he says, these Disco Novas. So I guess this is a Disco Aspen, since this is 78 too. And the other guys, well, he said I'm giving him motivation to work on that. And the other guy has a 78 Ford Fairmount. I remember those cars. And he said I've given him motivation to go out and get the project done. So welcome aboard to them and all you other new subscribers. If you're new, I got the whole series on the 78 Aspen that you can look back on. There's about 20 videos from start to finish. We're doing the 78 now, and we got the 72 over in the corner with its parts car right there. We're taking the engine, transmission, and a lot of other stuff out of that car onto the 72. So if you don't like the Disco Novas, don't worry. We'll get to the Woodstock Novas. I'll call them that. We'll get to the 68, 72 type Novas. That's a 68, and then that one's a 72, but we're fixing up the 72. So stick around. A lot of the stuff is the same, no matter what car. You know, the body works, procedures are all the same. So stick with me on this 78. It's gonna look badass when it's done, and I mean, just like the Aspen. I got so many comments on how great that looks. This is going to look just as great. I don't know if I can do it better, because that Aspen really looks nice, but it's going to be nice. It's going to be silver with black stripes on it, some other black. Okay, so let me DA this door down. I already did, but like I said, the morning dew got some surface rust just on the top, and then I got some grease on it. We're going to clean all this up, and I'm going to mix up some Bondo. Show you how to mix it, spread it. Probably going to use on big dents, although there ain't no big dents, but I'll probably use my file a little bit. If you guys have been sticking with me, you know how I use them files there to cut down the first layer of Bondo. It saves a lot of time, a little bit of time, and a lot of sandpaper, because you don't gum up the sandpaper. So we're going to do that next, okay? Probably the door, because the deck lid is hot as hell. Top of this door's pretty hot too, man. It is hot out. Okay, I might wait a few hours and come back, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to fix the dings on that door and the deck lid, and we'll do that. Be a couple seconds for you guys, but I'll be back in a couple hours. Okay. Okay, guys, time to mix up some Bondo. Just mix up. It's better to mix up less than what you think you need, just in case, because you don't want to mix up too much and let it go to waste or harden up on you. I waited a little too long. Went in there and took a nap, so it's getting kind of dark out. But so the hardener, this is actually a little tube. I got this. It comes with a big tube. Depends on the temperature. You know, don't mix this when it's 80 or 100 degrees outside. I mean, you can mix it inside. Don't mix it outside, because if the sun hits that, it'll dry it in about 15 seconds. So it's kind of good that the sun's down, because it won't harden. But the temperature, I'm just putting in just a little bit of hardener. The more hardener you put in, the faster it's going to dry. So we'll just put in a little bit. Like I said, just mix up a little bit. This is probably all we need here anyway. And you just mix it up like this. Use your spreader back and forth until it's all one color. You know, that something came up in my news feed video, and it says how to mix Bondo. Had 359,000 views on it. I was like, jeez. I didn't watch it, so I don't know what was all in it. 20 minutes on how to mix Bondo. Here you'll get it in just a minute. There's nothing to it. You just add hardener. Okay, I think that's good there. Let's move it to the car. I'm gonna do the deck lid. It's not hot anymore, so it should be pretty easy. Okay, I left a little bit of paint on there. You can take all that paint off if you want, but you rub your hand over it and feel the dents. And if you can't remember the dents, you got one there, you can put a little bit of masking tape on it. So when you come back to it, you'll know. I probably should have on that little one I put the dent on it. I think it's right here. So you just kind of spread it like this. Comes a little kitty out. Okay, I think that was it, but if you missed some, you pick some more up, come back. This one, there's one there, one here. And you push it in there real good. That'll keep the air bubbles, and you don't want to put it on there lightly. Apply some pretty good pressure when you're putting it on there. This one was a pretty big size one. I believe there was one more over here. Oh yeah, right. Rub your hand over it, see if you can feel any. Now when you'll find all of them once, if you miss any, don't worry about it, like little ones, because once we prime it and block it, you'll be able to see they'll come up as low spots. And you can put some more putty in it after you prime it. I think that pretty much used that up. Any extras? Find any extra stuff. So we're just going to use all this up here. Just we know this is dented. This is pretty much going to be skimmed over, a lot of this, because not just the individual dents. We're just going to skim the whole area. Okay, let's mix up a little bit more for some dents on that door. Oh, kitty trying to jump up on my lap. Kitty, that's not something to eat. Smile for the camera, kitty. Okay. Let's put a little bit of hardener in there. I hope this came with a big tube. I probably got it around somewhere. It should come with a bigger tube than that. Okay, mix her up again. show you how we're just going to spread it over a big area, because trying to get out all the little dents, trying to find them all is not going to be any. Okay, so we're just going to skim this all along the edge here, because we know there's a bunch of dings right on that body line there. And most of this will all come off after you block it. So you just put a real thin coat. I know there's a dent there. Puppy, stay away from that kitty. My dog hasn't ate the kitty cat yet, so we got a dent up here that we know about. Okay. We've got this dent here at the edge of the door when I was jacking it up, adjusting it. And that's when I had used a block of wood underneath here and jacked it up with the jack and kind of bent it up. I hammered it out a little bit. Okay, I'll put some more over here. Okay. I try to use every little last drop of it. Nothing goes to waste. Okay, you just clean up your spreader. I usually just put it on the side of the box here like this. Clean up the spreader, and when you go to reuse it, you know, I don't waste. You can get a bucket and put thinner in there and dip it in thinner, but it's just a waste of thinner. I just use a piece of sandpaper when I use it next time and just run it along the edge there and just reuse it. Keep reusing it until it breaks. Okay, I don't know if the trunk lid's dry yet, but this is what I use to break down, I call them cheese graters, but you get them at the auto body store. And so we got some pretty thin layers on there. They probably don't even need it. But let's just see how this, it's not, you feel it and it's drying, but it's not quite ready. It's like when it's about halfway dry, you take this cheese grater and go over it lightly on the top before it dries, and it takes shavings off there, and it's almost at the point, so I don't want to. It's not quite dry now. Let's try it a little bit more. Okay, let me come back in a second and I'll show you that. Okay guys, just been a couple of minutes. I'll show you the procedure here to cheese grate it. Just go over it real lightly. Put a little bit of pressure to get it digging in, but you don't want to dig too much. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to take off too much. Just a light coat till it's, you know, it seems fairly flat. Not too much though, because you'll be sanding the rest of it flat. And like I said before, this saves you a lot of sandpaper from trying to sand it all down. Saves you time and sandpaper. Let's see if this is, I think that's pretty good enough too. Okay, now you let that dry really good. At this stage here, it only took, I don't know what it took, 5-10 minutes altogether to get to the cheese grater stage. You probably let it dry for another 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you take your DA sander, and just in case it gets too dark here to do it, you take your DA sander and go over it like that, big broad area. Don't try to get it completely smooth, because you're going to do that with your block sander. So use your DA, go over it, big area like that, knock most of it down, but you leave some, and then you just go over with a hand block. I'll show you here in a minute if we got enough time. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay guys, been a few minutes. I spread a little bit more Bondo on that door there while we're waiting for this to dry. That's why you can kind of work on two panels. Concentrate on one, but if you're waiting for Bondo to dry, you can work on the other panel. Okay, so you take your DA sander here with preferably a good well-used 80 grit sandpaper. Like this is the one I used to strip it. It's not that much life left in it, but that's what you can use over your top layer of Bondo, because it'll clog it up. That's why we use the cheese grater a little bit, because if you leave it like this pink color on top, that's what clogs up the sandpaper. Even when it completely dries, that top layer. So we're going to get a little bit of that. So let's just go over these dents here with the sander. Okay, so that's the, I don't know if you can see very good. That's the main part that will clog up your sandpaper or wear it out. I was just going to get a new, so you can go over all your spots lightly and then get a new piece. And then that way your new piece will last for a real long time. But I think it's pretty close. That's what I was going to do, but let me just buzz these down a little bit more and we'll block them. Okay. At least them three are on that side. So now you get your block sander. I'm not very well organized here. Here's a little block here. It's another little one, and then I got a longer one. Usually I just use a little one and then a long one. If you're doing like that door there, you would use the long. You can buy separate long pieces of rectangular, I don't know if I got any in here, of sandpaper that you can use for like an air file or block sander, but I just use the DA paper. That's the only sandpaper I buy, it's just DA paper. So you take that off and put your block like that, and that way you can, I'll show you, if you get on your spot here, you'll keep blocking it. You go straight across like this, and then go across diagonally. Go back this way, and then start going round. So I could have probably used a little DA on a little bit more, break it down, but and then when you think your sandpaper's, you use your hand and you whack that out of there, and then move this around on your sandpaper if you think it's wearing out a little bit. That, bang it, get that. I can't do it with my hand holding the camera, but either whack it. If it starts clogging up, if your Bondo ain't dry, you can use that cheese grater or a paint stir stick and whack this with it as you're sanding. Sand a little bit, whack it, so it takes all the sand. Like I said, I get as much use out of a piece of sandpaper as I can. And here we go, it's getting down there pretty good now. That's perfectly straight right there. Now, what you would do is I always buy, sandpaper I buy is a roll of 80 grit and a roll of 180. So I would go over this after I finish all the dents, go over it with 180, just like I just did, and then it's smooth. Although this is kind of going to have to be all blocked out anyway, but if you didn't have to use a grinder on this, where it was really smooth, and you didn't want to use a lot of primer or to fill it all in, we'll go use this dent here. Keep moving it around. I had a dent. I may have missed one on here. I thought I had one right on the edge, but that's all right. As you go over this, you might find some little dents, and then you mix up some for your door, and you come back and you do a little area that you missed. And then when you're finished and you prime it, then we're going to use some black paint as a guide coat and spray all over it, and that's when you'll find every little indentation, dimple, everything. And that's when you can go over and you'll be able to fix everything on it. There'll be no excuse not to miss anything. Okay, just keep going over that. You use your hand there over like this, and you can feel it. You can feel if it's a little bit high or low. If it's low, you're fixing the bigger dents there. It's going to take a couple of skims of this Bondo, but I think these ones on the deck lid, one little smear of it will take care of them. I think that one's pretty close. And of course, when we do it with 180 like that, it'll take down a little bit more. I can feel a little bit there. A little bit high. That's pretty close there. I'll do it with 180. So just do all the little spots like that. I don't waste too much time doing all that. Leave that up there. See a little bit of Bondo I did when I was off camera. We can cheese grate that down. So I just used the little 6-inch TA. Back in the day when I worked at a Mako there in my younger days, used to use I think it was 8 or 9-inch, called the Bondo Buster. And man, you could really do some panels like this in a few minutes. But I still have one. It's still good, but then you got to buy the special paper for it. And it's very expensive. Well, it was $1 a sheet back then. It's probably $2 or $3 a sheet now. So it gets a little expensive if you're buying a whole bunch of different sandpaper, like the long sheets for the air file, which I still got an air file. I use it sometimes. I got some big areas that I got to keep going over and over and over with. See, you can already see there's a little dent or something there. There was a dent above here that we did. So that's why I knock it down a lot, and I can sand it down pretty good with just a small DA. It's a little 6-inch. Okay, I'm going to get all these other spots. It's going to look like a lot of Bondo on there, but once it's all cheese grated down and sanded down, there really isn't going to be hardly any Bondo at all. It's just filling in little door dings. So, okay, it's getting kind of dark. I'll come back here in a little bit. I'm probably going to block all this door down, do exactly what I did with the deck lid. You probably don't need to see me do it all. Probably show a little bit of it. And then once that's all, I'd like to get this deck lid primed tonight. So once I block all these down and go over it with 180, I'm going to put some masking paper around the edges so I don't screw up the jambs and the window, and prime this deck lid so the morning dew doesn't get on it and start giving it surface rust. Okay, so I'll be back. Okay guys, it's actually the next day. I got some more Bondo on this door. I've been blocking that. Gotta let that dry. The deck lid's pretty much ready to paint. I found a few little spots here. I'm gonna let them dry, but for now we're gonna prime from here up, just to show you, because by the time I get this done, it's gonna be dark. So, okay, we went over how to strip the car, how to lay the Bondo, mix the Bondo, sand it. The other block sander I use is this here. Long one, same thing. I use the DA paper like that. Just keep mixing it around. Your DA paper in the roll. This is in the middle of it. This is what you use here. Use some sandpaper and roll it up. And this is for like little areas here, you know, where it's curved. So use that. Okay, so we got all that done in this video. And the last step is to prime. I'm gonna be working on this till even when it gets dark, and then I'm gonna grind all this down here, all this old paint down to here, and I'll rework this Bondo. Down here is okay. That's the new quarter. So at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you, and the deck lid, the quarter, and the door is gonna be all done, all primered. Okay, because it's getting kind of long, this video. So okay, and then we're gonna reprime the cowl. So let me just show you a little bit of the priming. Prime part of the deck lid here before I get started. Then we're gonna put some black guide coat on this also, especially since we grinded it. Has grind marks in it now. The rest of the car doesn't, or that door doesn't anyway. I'll show you the primer I buy. Depends on the type of quality you want. You can buy some cheap primer surfacer for about 40 bucks a gallon. I buy the urethane 2K primer from eBay. It's about 100 bucks. It's a two-part. You add your activator hardener in there. I'll show it to you here in a minute. It's a epoxy primer, and I always like to use that. A little bit better quality than the cheap stuff. Okay, so on this we're going to put about 2 coats. Two pretty good coats. Like I said, I'm going to come back and do the bottom here, but it'll be dark by the time I get that done. So yeah, I didn't realize this video was getting so long. So there's not much use in me showing you later how to strip down the hood or the roof. See, we're gonna get to a bunch more stuff next video, such as welding, fixing that rust with a patch panel and welding that in there, and then pulling that dent on the fender, and whatever other different type of body work that we're gonna come across. We'll do that next video. Okay, hang on. I'll see if I got any. Let's see if this. I'm trying to get this can of black paint. Nah, it doesn't even work. Hang on a second. Okay, guys, I have no luck with spray cans. All the tips always screw up. Let's see if I can get a little bit of black on here to show you. what you want to do is just, it's spraying all weird. You just want to get a light dusting on here. They're a little bit better. You don't want to be spray painting the whole thing like you're painting a car or something, but okay, next video we're going to go over that final, call it like final sanding. Okay, so when we block that out, you'll see grind marks in there. You keep sanding till it's all gone, and then you reprimer it. Okay, so if you're a beginner, that's the way you want to look the whole car. You want to make the whole car look like that. Prime it all and do it, and block it all out till all the black paint is gone, and then final prime it. And then that final primer, you just 400 grit sandpaper and paint it. Okay, I'll be back. When I come back, I'll have all this done and primed, this whole side. Okay guys, this is the epoxy primer I buy from eBay for about, it's about $100. I think it might be about 110 now, delivered. Gone up a little bit like everything. Okay, it's late here at night, and work on this half the day and half the night. So got all the body work and door, quarter panel, and deck lid and prime. Had a bunch of little bugs out earlier, but it's not too bad. Okay, so we got 3 panels done in this video. I don't know how many more to go, but I think next video, like I said, we'll do some other body work that I haven't done in this video, like some patch welding, pull the dent on that fender. We're going to strip and re-bondo the other quarter. The hood and the roof, I think, just need to be stripped and primed. I can't tell if there's any dents. That I'll probably just put on the time delay thing, have it speeded up, and you'll see me do it in about 2 minutes flat. It won't be long and drawn out like this, since we got since I showed you all the basics how to do that. We don't need to go over that again. Okay, so that'll be it for this video. This will be kind of like part 1. Next one will be part 2. I don't know how long it'll take me to finish the whole car. And then we'll be doing the finishing, which is blocking it all down and then repriming the whole car. Okay, so like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell there. It'll notify you if when I put out a next video. And we will see you next video. Thanks everybody for watching.